We know how good teachers are at controlling their emotions and maintaining order in classrooms full of chaotic students, but their ability to do the same is seriously challenged when they are in court.
I will do all in my power to never act in a way that would harm others ever again.
Here are the top 10 teachers reacting to sentences in court. Number 1. Brian Johnston. Brian Johnston, a former Hillcrest High School teacher and football coach, was arrested and hauled before the court. The allegations against Johnston resulted from a string of troubling episodes that occurred over a few months. According to court filings, Johnston engaged in a pattern of stalking and harassment, going to considerable effort to punish his victim. He showed up in locations she frequented, seeking to reach her through proxies and even enlisting former classmates in his sick scheme. The judge's voice resonated across the courtroom as he delivered Johnston's sentence: 5 years in jail, with 1.5 years to be spent immediately and the other 3.5 years to be determined later. The court filings exposed the depths of his wickedness. The victim described a series of unsettling encounters with Johnston, according to the police report. He attempted to enter her home late at night while she was away, and she received text messages and phone calls from unknown phone numbers that she assumed were manufactured by him. In reaction to her choice to stop their relationship, he threatened to hurt himself, according to the report. Furthermore, the victim realized that some goods were gone from her home and that her vehicle's tires had been purposefully ruptured. The victim bravely confronted the court during the emotionally charged sentencing hearing, detailing the years she had spent mired in Johnston's web of deception. She regarded the relationship as entrapment, with Johnston expertly concealing his true nature under a layer of charm and generosity. He lavished her with presents, declared his love, and made her feel he cared profoundly for her, all the while maintaining a public appearance of normalcy. However, as the victim continued to testify, it became clear that Johnston's actions had caused irreparable harm. She described the terror she had felt every time she saw a bald head or an automobile similar to Johnston's, the residual trauma that tormented her daily life. She was denied the possibility to develop and mature as a result of the psychological toll inflicted on her. Johnston's alarming desire for the victim pointed to the finding of a voice recorder with his fingerprint in her house. The gadget had 27 recordings of private talks that had occurred within the victim's sanctuary. Johnston had his turn to address the court, obviously frightened and even sobbing. He issued a statement, holding back tears, admitting guilt, and appealing for forgiveness. He claimed to have had considerable counseling, including both individual and group treatment, in an effort to understand and modify his behavior. Number 2. Brianne Altis. Former Utah high school teacher Brianne Altis became well known for having illicit connections with a number of her male pupils. Her deeds startled neighborhoods across America. Altis, who was born in Centerville, Utah on February 8, 1980, first chose a profession in education with the hope of having a beneficial influence on her students' lives. She graduated from Utah with a bachelor's in elementary education before going on to Weber State University for her master's in education. In 2006, Altis first started working as a teacher at Davis High School in Kaysville. However, when claims of improper interactions with kids arose in 2013, her initially promising career took a terrible turn. According to the reports, Altis had committed inappropriate acts with 3 male pupils. According to reports, these incidents happened both on and off school property. The community was shocked by the discovery, and Altis was quickly detained in October 2013. Throughout the subsequent legal proceedings, Altis was accused of a number of crimes, targeting her students. Altis said in her defense that she lost her judgment as a result of her poor behavior, her mental illness, and her prescription medication addiction. However, her defense was met with mistrust, and many others questioned her genuineness. Altis received a sentence of 2 to 30 years in jail after entering a guilty plea to 3 charges of forceful assault, a second-degree felony, in 2015. Additionally, she was given a permanent registration on Utah's offender registry. The Altis case brought to light the problem of instructor authority abuse and the possible harm done to weak pupils. Brianne Altus's court appearances included a variety of expressions that attracted notice and produced different responses. She cried frequently, which some onlookers saw as a tactic to make people feel bad for her. Altus was occasionally seen as shocked. Altus also frequently exuded guilt through her downcast face and solemn demeanor. She occasionally exhibited an overwhelming sense of the seriousness of her acts. She did, however, occasionally show disobedience, especially during cross-examination or in response to difficult inquiries. Altus's conduct had repercussions that went beyond her prison term. The victims, who were college students at the time of the crimes, went through severe emotional pain and had difficulties in their personal lives. The neighborhood was left to deal with the fallout, wondering how such activities could go unobserved for such a long time. Number 3. Anna de Torre. Liberty Junior School's art instructor, Anna de Torre, was accused of having improper interactions with her male pupil, which was really upsetting. Officers from the Monroe Police Department responded to a report from a person intimately connected to the student, which is when the events that led up to this point started to take place. The person, whose identity has been withheld, told the authorities that the student had admitted to dating de Torre. It was said that the couple met secretly after school hours after exchanging graphic photographs on Snapchat to begin their romance. As the pieces of the puzzle fitted together, the seriousness of the situation became more and more clear. According to court records, de Torre first met the victim while working at Liberty Junior, but the offenses allegedly took place after her last day of teaching. A district representative stated that de Torre's employment with the district had ended on May 4th. Thus, there was a sizable period of time between her formal affiliation with the school and the reported events. Unsettlingly, it was alleged that de Torre had engaged in 3 distinct acts with the pupil. A single instance stood out within the grim story. The student secretly slipped out of their father's house during the wee hours of a summer night to meet his teacher, de Torre. She is accused of picking up the young boy and taking her to Monroe Park, where they indulge in the criminal offense under cover of darkness. When the student's father sent law enforcement authorities a text message from a number that may be linked to de Torre, confirming the suspected unlawful relationship, the seriousness of the issue became clear. De Torre had to face legal implications right away. She was charged with 11 counts of transmitting information harmful to children and illegal contact with the young boy, both felonies, by a grand jury in Butler County. The courtroom was quiet as the judge set her bond at $10,000, and everyone struggled with the gravity of the charges. After receiving her sentence, de Torre, 24, apologized to the victim and his family for her actions. In April 2023, the former Lakota teacher admitted guilt for distributing harmful materials to children and engaging in unlawful contact with a juvenile. She said she was really sorry for her actions, while her attorney also stated that she was extremely remorseful. Number 4. Abigail Simon. Former Michigan high school teacher Abigail Simon was found guilty of indulging in inappropriate relations with a male pupil and was given a sentence of 8 to 25 years in prison. Emotions were strong during the drawn-out 2-hour hearing. Simon lost consciousness twice, expressing to the court her sorrow and desperation. She begged the court, "I'm asking you to take a chance on me," with tears in her eyes. "I'm broken and lost. I wish to return home." Simon acknowledged her regret, acknowledging that she had been paralyzed by dread and felt suffocated by her surroundings. She expressed remorse that she had not been able to overcome the conditions that had caused her conduct. In her remarks to the court, the victim's mother emphasized that her son was the real victim in this incident. She wished for a harsh punishment that would emphasize the misery and pain her son had gone through as a result of Abigail Simon's deeds. Given the severe effect that this tragedy had on her son's life, the mother pleaded with the court to be stern in Abigail's punishment. In the meantime, Mike Manley, Simon's attorney, defended his client, saying that the student first informed authorities that he was the one who started the meeting. He maintained that this was the accused victim's own account of events, not a defense that had been made up. Separately, it was discovered that Abigail Simon had previously been found guilty of doing the same to another student. Simon had been offered several chances throughout the judicial process to take plea bargains that would have resulted in lower terms and spared her from a protracted trial. She turned down these offers, though, which sparked a dramatic 3-week trial that resulted in a guilty conviction. Simon's emotional outbursts throughout the court hearings were notable. She claimed to be the victim and vented her fury at the prosecutors. The young boy was cross-examined by the defense for 2 days, with a particular emphasis on their considerable text message correspondence. The youngster who was involved testified that both Simon and the claimed victim used kind words to describe one another. According to the young man, Simon nicknamed him Boo, while calling his previous tutor Baby Girl, as reported by Wood TV. In November 2022, Abigail Simon was granted parole. After serving time in state prison since January 2015, Number 5. Alexandria Vera. Former Texas middle school teacher Alexandria Vera became well known for having an improper relationship with a 13-year-old pupil. Her narrative, which was rife with scandal and controversy, came to light in front of the public, illuminating the complexity of teacher misconduct and the detrimental effects it can have on children's lives. When Vera taught English to the kid in the 8th grade at Stovall Middle School, their friendship started off innocently enough. But as time went on, their encounters grew more and more impolite until they crossed the line into an illegal relationship. The fact that Vera fell pregnant with the student's child only served to heighten the shock of this situation. Child Protective Services opened an inquiry after receiving a tip about the connection, which revealed the scandal. Vera originally refuted the accusations, but she eventually acknowledged having a relationship with the student. She said that the student's parents were aware of their connection, approved of it, and even let him spend the night at her house. The story received extensive media coverage, highlighting the serious inadequacies in the educational system and the gullibility of students, who are easily deceived by adults. It also sparked concerns about how schools should prevent and deal with such wrongdoing, as well as the need to report any suspicious behavior to safeguard students' safety. Vera was detained in 2016 and accused of a second-degree felony. Significant public attention was generated by her case, and many people questioned whether she deserved the penalty she received. Others contended that she was a victim herself, trapped in a web of misguided emotions, and that she should be punished to the greatest extent of the law. Unsettling information regarding the nature of Vera's relationship with the student came to light during her trial. They had regular encounters, both at her house and in her car, according to testimony. The prosecution focused on the power dynamics at play and the serious violation of trust by a person in a position of responsibility, while the defense attempted to paint Vera as an innocent lady who was mistakenly convinced that she was in love. As she heard her sentence, she looked extremely calm, as though she had done nothing wrong. Vera entered a guilty plea to the accusations leveled against her in 2017, and the court then gave her a 10-year jail term. The story didn't end there. Vera was able to have herself released on $100,000 bail as soon as she turned herself in. She now awaits another trial, and if convicted, she could be sent to 25 years in prison. Number 6. Jennifer Fichter. Former Florida high school teacher Jennifer Fichter, who was 24 years old at the time, gained popularity for having an extramarital affair with a student. Jennifer was employed as an English instructor at the Central Florida Aerospace Academy, a division of Kathleen High School in Lakeland, Florida, at the time the relationship was discovered. The mother of a male student in Jennifer's class discovered some improper texts from the instructor on his phone at one time. The mother of the youngster called Jennifer and confronted her as a result. She acknowledged having many illegal encounters with her student during that call. The incident shocked the neighborhood and infuriated parents, educators, and members of the general public. In Florida, engaging in illicit behavior with a juvenile is a second-degree felony, and Fichter was arrested on these allegations. The incident raised awareness of pupils' vulnerability and instructors' need to uphold acceptable limits. Shocking information regarding Fisher's relationship with the student came to light throughout the trial. It was later revealed that they had many encounters both inside and in the vicinity of the school. There was no space for debate regarding the inappropriateness of their relationships because of the devastating evidence that was provided. Jennifer initially turned down a plea deal from the prosecution and chose to go to trial. However, she later changed her mind and pled guilty to 37 charges in April 2015. In the following month, when she was then 30 years old, The teacher expressed deep remorse and offered her heartfelt apologies to both the family members and the court. She acknowledged the gravity of her actions and expressed a sincere desire to undo the harm she caused. She also said that her words alone could not adequately address the pain and damage inflicted. She exclaimed, "All I can say is I'm so sorry. I wish I could take it back, and my words are not going to suffice. I know that." Nevertheless, the judge sentenced her to 22 years in prison, calling her a predator. The sentence imposed by Judge Glenn T. Shelby drew immediate controversy, as many, particularly in Europe, strongly criticized the unusually long duration of the sentence. Victor is currently serving her sentence at Gadsden Correctional Facility and is expected to be released on January 19, 2035. Number 7. Jessica Langford. Former Ohio teacher Jessica Langford made news of a major violation when she was found having an illegal relationship with one of her students. After charges of her having an extramarital relationship with a male student arose, Langford, who had previously worked as a teacher at Franklin High School, was taken into custody in May 2017. It was Langford's crime to have inappropriate physical contact with the pupil for a number of months. According to reports, the illicit relationship started and lasted for at least a year. The entire community was baffled by the discovery, which also led to major worries about the concentration of power and the security of pupils in educational institutions. After her arrest, Langford faced many charges, including criminal battery and unlawful conduct. Due to extreme complexity, the legal proceedings and her trial unfolded over the course of several months. In November 2017, Langford entered a plea agreement, pleading guilty to one count of criminal battery. Langford expressed regret for her conduct and the harm she did to the victim, his family, and the community during the sentencing hearing. She expressed regret for her actions and accepted responsibility for the trust she betrayed. It was disturbing to see Langford's response to the one-year punishment. People near her attempted to comfort her, but it was too late. At that point, her eyes were full of tears, and she collapsed her head on the desk. She listened intently as the victim's father explained how she had violated the confidence that had been put in her as a person entrusted with the care of children and pupils during the trial. He emphasized that she had put her own pleasure ahead of her duties as an educator. It's important to note that the case attracted a lot of media attention, underscoring the need to uphold professional boundaries and the seriousness of teacher-student interactions. The victim's father stated that his son suffers from a severe sense of humiliation and loneliness. He described how his kid experiences ongoing bullying at school, which makes him feel helpless and alone. Langford emphasized her responsibility as the main carer of her child and her ill mother in her request for mercy. She appealed for understanding and described how her absence would affect her family's well-being. Langford was supposed to serve concurrent terms as a result of the judgment, which means she served just 1 year in jail at the Reformatory for Women in Marysville. Number 8. Catherine Ronk. Former Michigan Spanish instructor Catherine Ronk, also known as Ciora Ronk, was involved in a court battle that ended with her entering a guilty plea for third-degree assault. The 30-year-old instructor was already in prison after pleading guilty to 2 charges of third-degree criminal behavior and receiving a sentence of 6 to 15 years. When it was determined that Ronk had participated in improper behavior with an unnamed student at Bishop Foley School in Madison Heights, Michigan, she was arrested in June 2014. According to reports, the interactions happened in a number of places, including Ronk's classroom, the student's house in Macomb Township, and a parked automobile in Sterling Heights. In addition, Ronk was charged with luring the student into exchanging explicit photographs and getting him drunk. A contrite Ronk apologized profusely to the victim, his family, the school, the neighborhood, and her own family, including her husband, during her court appearance. She sobbed as she admitted that she needed therapy and understood that her quest for self-improvement would last a lifetime. Ronk was initially charged with crimes that might have resulted in a life sentence. However, those crimes were eventually reduced to 2 counts of criminal behavior. Ronk continued to express her regret and grief as the sentencing date drew near, expressing her regret once more for the hurt she had caused. She ultimately entered a guilty plea and was given a 5.5-year parole eligibility term. The investigation into Ronk's misconduct began after the student's parents and the school's principal filed a complaint with the police. The ensuing investigation revealed that Ronk had engaged in illegal activity with the victim frequently, including during breaks and between classes in her classroom. Subsequently, Ronk was promptly terminated from her teaching position, which she had only joined at the beginning of the school year. According to her spouse's Facebook profile, Ronk and her husband have been married since 2011. She posted images of herself and her students celebrating cultural festivals on her Facebook page dedicated to her Spanish class. A statement Ronk provided following her conviction reveals the victim's reaction to Ronk's actions. He recognized that the heinous occurrences may have both immediate and long-term consequences for him. The victim's long-term impact was stressed by Judge Nancy Grant, who presided over the case, reminding Ronk that he was still a young boy navigating life's complexities. Ronk was quite surprised by the sentence. Originally facing life in prison, her guilty plea to 2 charges of third-degree criminal behavior resulted in a sentence arrangement that offered a range of no prison time to a maximum of 15 years. She will be eligible for parole, however, only after spending 5.5 years under this arrangement. Number 9. Brittany Zamora. Brittany Zamora is a former middle school teacher who gained national prominence after being involved in a widely publicized instance of improper behavior with one of her pupils. Zamora was born on September 12, 1991, in Arizona, United States. She went into education to teach children, however. Her one misstep, proved to be her undoing. Zamora's tale emerged in 2018 when it was revealed that she was having an unlawful relationship with a young male pupil at Las Brisas Academy in Goodyear, Arizona. The news not only shocked the town but also ignited a national debate about students' vulnerability and instructors' responsibility. The victim's parents discovered text conversations exchanged between him and Zamora on their son's phone, suggesting an improper and personal relationship. The communications revealed proof of extremely inappropriate contacts that had occurred both on and off campus. The authorities were contacted promptly, and Zamora was arrested in March 2018. More disturbing information regarding Zamora's activities surfaced as the lawsuit progressed. She had spoken with the student through a variety of channels, including social media and text messaging applications. The information revealed on these platforms showed that the instructor had a habit of manipulating young kids and abuse of authority. Zamora had breached the bounds and confidence placed in her by the educational institution and the community as a trusted authority figure. Brittany Zamora pleaded guilty to counts of misbehavior and indecent exposure with the young student in July 2019. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison with no chance of release. However, while she grieved, she expressed guilt for her acts, and she stated that her actions were utterly out of character and that she never intended to hurt anyone, which breaks her heart. The punishment was harsh because of the magnitude of her offenses, and it was intended to send a clear message about the protection of children and the repercussions for those who want to abuse their authority. Number 10. Stacey Dean Rambold. Rambold, a former Montana high school teacher, was accused of engaging in an improper relationship with one of his students, Charisse Morales. The case illuminated the intricacies of teacher-student interactions, as well as the vulnerability of young victims. Rambold, who was born on November 20, 1957, has a background in education and had previously taught at Billings Senior High School. Charisse Morales, a disturbed teenager with a challenging past, became one of Rambold's students in 2007. Rambold and Morales began their clandestine relationship around this time. Morales notified her therapist about the incident in 2008, prompting a criminal investigation. In 2008, Rambold was arrested and charged with 3 counts of criminal violence. Morales, aged 16, sadly died before the trial could begin. This emphasized the catastrophic impact of such crimes on victims, as well as the need to address the issue. During the trial, Rambold's defense team maintained that the relationship was consensual, despite the fact that Morales was a student and hence unable to give legal permission. This argument garnered a lot of flack since the power relations between a teacher and a student inevitably create an imbalance that contradicts the concept of consent. In an unusual decision, Judge G. Todd Baugh sentenced Rambold to only 30 days in jail, with the remaining 14 years suspended. The mild punishment, which cited the victim's apparent maturity and blamed her in part, provoked indignation and demonstrations. Critics said that the sentence was disproportionate to the seriousness of the crime and fostered victim-blaming narratives. The case was examined after the punishment, and the Montana Supreme Court finally reversed the initial sentence. The court knew the seriousness of the offense and the need for a harsher penalty. In 2014, Rambold was resentenced to 10 years in jail, with an extra 5 years suspended. The amended sentence showed a greater recognition of the harm caused by Rambold's acts and aimed to restore justice to Morales and her family. Rambold's response to his sentencing changed throughout the court process. Initially, he apologized to Morales' family and showed regret for his conduct. However, his trial defense approach, which called Morales' integrity and maturity into doubt, displayed a lack of accountability. It is crucial to highlight that Rambold's reaction to his sentencing does not lessen the harm he inflicted, nor does it lessen the long-term impact on Morales' family and the community involved in the case.